This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Rabbi Glatstein, Ruchim Abam to the Kol Agad Perka. We're already approaching closer to the Yom Hadin, and even though to many of us, maybe deep down we're thinking, "Wake me up when it's over," but ready or not, here it comes. And as the Yom Naram approach, we try to look over some of the tefillos that we're going to be encountering, we're going to be saying, and one of the most prominent of the tefillos that we say during Yom Naram are the Avinu Malkeinus, which are very short tefillos, and we're really crying out for all of our tzrachim, all of our needs. Avinu Malkeinu, Kasveinu, Sefer Chayim Tovim, Avinu Malkeinu, Kasveinu, B'Sefer Gula V'Yeshua, Avinu Malkeinu, Shlach Lanu, Fuah Shalema, and so forth. These are basically a list of everything that a person could possibly need. And the tefillos are very short, they're very concise, but the most concise and the shortest of all the tefillos is the tefillah that we say, Avinu Malkeinu, Kasveinu, B'Sefer Zechuyos. Our Father, our King, inscribe us in the book of merit. And it seems like a very beautiful tefillah. Everybody wants to do mitzvahs, but upon further analysis, it's a little bit inexplicable how we could offer such a tefillah, write us in the book of merit. And we're going to feature someone who I don't believe we've featured here before. He was the Rosh Hashiva of Kelm, Rav Daniel Movshovitz. I don't know so much about him, other than I really like his first name. And he asked the following question. He asks, what kind of tefillah is that? Write us in the book of merit. Here's the guy, he's lying in bed. Ribbon Shalom, write me in the book of merit. Get out of bed and write yourself in the book of merit. Get up, put on your talis, put on your tefillin, daven, learn, do some chesed, and then I guarantee you, Hakol b'sefer nechtavim, everything is inscribed. Elamai, the guy says, no, I want the Ribbon Shalom to do it for me. Well, that's one thing that's not up to God. You could ask Hashem, give me a nice car, give me a nice house, give me your fuah shalema, but the one thing you cannot ask Him for is, Ribbon Shalom, write me in the book of mitzvahs. Hakol bidei shamayim chutz miyira shamayim. Everything is in the hand of heaven except mitzvahs and averos. Ribbon Shalom doesn't do mitzvahs for you, and He doesn't do averos for you. So what exactly is this tefillah, Kasveinu b'Sefer Zechuyos? Mimanav Shach asks the Rosh Hashiva of Kelm. It's quoted in Rav Matasyahu Solomon's Sefer, the Matnas Chaim. Mimanav Shach. If you do the mitzvah, it will be written. And if you don't do the mitzvah, it certainly will not be written. As we approach the Yom Hadin, the Ribbon Shalom has given us a special matana. And that matana is Parshas Seitzei. Parshas Seitzei has more mitzvahs than any other parsha in the whole Torah. The Sefer Sifsei Tzadik, which was written by Rav Pinchas Menachem Mipiltz, the brother-in-law of the Sfas Emes, he brings down that Parshas Seitzei has a whopping 74 mitzvahs, more than any other parsha in Kol HaTorah Kula. And the inyan is that we know Kol ha'oisek b'dinei chatos ke'ilu hikrav chatos. Kol ha'oisek b'inyan oila ke'ilu hikrav oila. When you learn about something, it's like you were mekayim it. So the Ribbon Shalom wanted to add more mitzvahs to our tally. Ribbon Shalom knows that as we approach the Yom Hadin, we're trying as best as possible to amass as many mitzvahs as possible. So what the Ribbon Shalom did was He gave us Parshas Seitzei. By learning Parshas Seitzei, one will amass more mitzvahs than by learning any other parsha in the Torah. 74 mitzvahs. The significance of 74 is Ayin Dalet, like we have in Kriya Shema and Shema. You have the big Ayin, Shin Mem, and the big Ayin, and then the big Dalet at the end of Echad, which spells out Eid, which is testimony to our Kabbalas Omachus Shamayim. So too, Parshas Seitzei is a testimonial to our Kabbalas Malchus Shamayim before the Yom Hadin. So, Rabbi Glatstein, if Parshas Seitzei is what gives us more zechuyos than any other parsha, and it contains more mitzvahs than any other parsha, presumably it would also give us some insight in the proper way to perform mitzvahs and the procedure of being mekayim mitzvahs. So we would like to investigate a little bit this week's parsha to see if we could glean some insight into Kiyam HaMitzvahs in general. There is a very unique halacha when it comes to Arei Miklat. And that is, if somebody kills somebody kills somebody b'shoigeg, so we know they have to run away to the Arei Miklat. And basically, once you go to the Arei Miklat, you're stuck there. You cannot leave. It doesn't matter how important it is. It doesn't matter if you get in the newspaper, tuna fish is going on sale for 30 cents a pound outside, and the key food outside the Arei Miklat, cannot leave the Arei Miklat. Doesn't matter, the suit store is advertising, buy one, get 30 suits free, just come out of the Arei Miklat. Even so, you cannot leave the Arei Miklat. If you need to notify Bezdin that it's Rosh Chodesh, you cannot leave the Arei Miklat. You were a witness to murder, you cannot go testify outside the Arei Miklat. Says the Gemara, it's a Mishnah Makos, Yud Aleph Amud Beis. Einoi yoytzei misham la'olam. You can never leave there. Ve'eino yoytzei, you can't leave loy la'idus mitzvah. Not if you have to testify about the Chodesh. V'loy la'idus mamoin. Not if you have to testify about a monetary transaction. They need you. Otherwise, without you, somebody might lose $10 billion. Too bad, you're stuck. V'loy la'idus nefashos. You can't testify about a capital case. And what if not only could you save one life, but you're such a proficient general that the entire Jewish people is at stake, and without you, chas v'shalom, you're endangering the lives of all of Klal Yisrael? Could you leave then? Says the Mishnah, Va'afilu Yisrael tzrichan lai, even if Klal Yisrael needs you. Va'afilu sar tzava Yisrael, even if you're a general, kiyoyav ben sruya, eino yoytze misham la'olam. You cannot leave. But the entire Klal Yisrael is being put in jeopardy. They're in a perilous situation. Sorry, you're stuck in the Arei Miklat. Shenemar asher nos shama. There's a mitzvah aseh shama. Sham tehei dirasa, you live there. Sham tehei misasai, you die there. Sham tehei kfurasai, you can't even be buried outside the Arei Miklat. You spend $30,000 on a plot in Har HaZeisim. Don't worry, I guarantee you someone will fill that spot. You cannot leave. You live there, you die there, you're buried there. Doesn't matter if it's saving one life, 10 lives, all of Klal Yisrael. And all the Achronim ask.
I don't understand the buried there.
Why?
Once you're dead, the reason you can't leave is, right, because you're worried that the Goel Adam is going to...
It's Exeris HaKasav. It's Exeris HaKasav. We don't know the reason why you can't leave. The Torah just says you cannot leave.
You can leave when the Kohen Gadol dies.
Right, the Kohen Gadol dies. When the Kohen Gadol. But if the Kohen Gadol doesn't die, you live there. Why? That's what the Torah says.
Amnesty.
So it says it comes at Tiferes Yisrael, and he asks, is it Pella? What kind of mitzvah is this? Everybody knows that everybody knows that you don't have to risk your life to perform any mitzvah in the Torah other than the big three. So somebody, chas v'shalom, puts a gun to your head and says, wear the shatnez, you wear the shatnez. And if someone puts a gun and says, eat the treif, you eat the treif. And someone puts a gun to you and said, speak by chazar sashatz, then you're allowed to speak by chazar sashatz. And someone puts a gun to your head and says, text in the middle of davening, then what can you do? Never. You're allowed to text in the middle of davening. If it's sakanas nefashos, right? Huh? And somebody says, leave your cell phone on during the tefillah. Otherwise, you don't have to risk your life. You're allowed to keep it on there, right? So the question is, unless it's Gilui Arayos, Shvichas Damim, and Avodah Zarah. So why in this case is this such an important mitzvah that you stay in the Arei Miklat, even if it means risking the opportunity to save the entire Jewish people? Here the guy's a general. He's in position to protect all of Klal Yisrael, and we say, sorry pal, you got to stay in the Arei Miklat because the Torah says Shama. What do you mean Shama? Shama's not one of the big three. They have to risk the entire... So you say, well, wait a second. I'm allowed to protect my life to violate mitzvahs in the Torah. I'm allowed to protect my life unless it's one of the big three. But who says V'chai Bahem implies that I'm allowed to protect the rest of Klal Yisrael? Maybe I'm not allowed to violate Averos to protect other Jews. Maybe I'm only allowed to violate an Avera to protect my own life. But it doesn't say if my life's in danger, I could leave the Arei Miklat. I'm not allowed to leave the Arei Miklat. It says if other people's lives are in danger. So maybe Taka, you're right. For Gila Raya, Shvichas Damim, and Avodah Zarah, I have to give up my life. I don't have to give up my life for any other mitzvah, but that's to protect my own skin. Who says to protect other people's skin? Parshas says, what are you talking about? If you see somebody's life's in danger, are you allowed to be Mechal Shabbos? Of course. You're Mechuyev to be Mechal Shabbos. That means you desecrate any Aveira in the Torah except for the big three, not only to save your own skin, but to save even the life of one other Jew. So could someone please explain to me why this poor guy who is wallowing in the Arei Miklat, he has the opportunity to save the entire Klal Yisrael, and all of a sudden we're such a stickler for a mitzvah saseh called Shama. Yes, it's Gzeres HaKosav. But there's another Gzeres HaKosav called V'chai Bahem. And V'chai Bahem says you violate every Avera to save another life, except for the big three. Shama is not one of the big three. It's not Gilei Arayos, it's not Shvichas Damim, and it's not Avodah Zarah. When did this become like the most important mitzvah in the Torah, right? All of a sudden now, what's the most important mitzvah in the Torah? Staying in an Arei Miklat, because you have to stay there even if it comes at the expense of saving the entire Klal Yisrael. I mean, even Gilei Arayos, which you're not allowed to be Megal Arayos to save a life, but to save all of Klal Yisrael, you're allowed to. V'haraya Esther. Yael. So even the big three, if it's a matter of saving the entire Jewish people, you could play around with them. And yet Shama, I mean, it's a Pella. Because everybody knows you're not allowed to violate the big three to save a life. But when it comes to all of Klal Yisrael, that's a different story. It's a different situation. And yet Shama, remaining in an Arei Miklat, is so important that even if all of Klal Yisrael is at risk, you stay in the Arei Miklat. So it's a tema, it's a pella. The biggest kasha you ever heard today. It's a big kasha.
Right. Unless the Kohen Gadol dies.
Unless the Kohen Gadol dies. But meanwhile, Klal Yisrael is at risk. This is the kasha of the Torah Yisrael. He says, Tmihani, Hare Klala Amrina Derak Gimel Dvarim Avodah Zarah Gilei Arayos Shvichas Damim Oimdim B'fnei Pikuach Nefesh. So how could we tell this general stay in the Arei Miklat and ignore the security of the rest of the Jewish people? By the way, because of this kasha, the Cheshek Shloimeh, Rav Shlomo HaKohen Mivilna, he has a very novel interpretation of this halacha, that it does not mean you're not allowed to leave. And nobody agrees with this, but this is his novel interpretation. When the Mishnah says, Eino yotzei misham la'olam, it doesn't mean you're not allowed to leave. It means you're not allowed to leave permanently. La'olam. So what do? If you have to testify, you run and testify, and then you run back. You can't say, well, once I'm out, I'm grandfathered out already. No. Back in. Let's say you need to testify to save a life. You testify and you back. What if we need you so badly? We need you to save the Jewish people. So after all, you just save the Jewish people. So now we'll make you a parade, and you would think you could stay out. No. Eino yotzei misham la'olam. You can't stay out permanently. But you could obviously go out temporarily, because if you can't go out temporarily, this would fly in the face of v'chai bahem. So that's how the Cheshek Shloimeh interprets the Mishnah's halacha of Eino yotzei misham. It doesn't mean Eino yotzei misham at all, period. It means Eino yotzei misham la'olam. You can't leave permanently. And in fact, Cheshek Shloimeh says this is even more meduyak.
Then nobody agrees.
No, nobody agrees.
Nobody.
Even nobodies don't agree with him. Yeah. And he says this is even more mashma in the Rambam, because the Rambam says, Eino yotzei misham la'olam ad mois kohen agada. Where the Rambam emphasizes, he doesn't leave there forever until the Kohen Gadol dies. Which implies, but he could leave, it's just not la'olam. Okay? But again, that is not the simple interpretation of the Mishnah. The simple interpretation of the Mishnah is that if someone killed b'shogeg, he's stuck in the Arei Miklat at all costs. Doesn't matter what the cause is. He may not leave under any circumstance. And the question is, farvos, why? Why is he stuck there? Why don't we say v'chai bahem? The Jewish people are at stake. Just leave the Arei Miklat already. You could wear the shatnez to save them. You could violate any law practically to save them. Why can't you violate the mitzvah of Shama? Comes Yar Sameach, Meir Simcha Midvensk, And the Ar Sameach suggests the following. There is an interesting Yushalmi that posits, and that we know that it's a big mitzvah to save the life of another Jew. Lo yisamed adam re'acha. Do you have to give up your life to save the life of another Jew? No. Chayecha koydem. Your life comes first. Do you need to put yourself in safek sakana to save the life of another Jew?
Harm's way.
We gave a share on this a number of years ago, whether organ donation. Are you allowed to put yourself in peril to save someone else's life? Are you allowed to put yourself in safek sakana to save the life of another Jew? The Yushalmi says you have to. But nobody paskins that way. Nobody. And the question is why? And it's suggested because the Bavli argues. The Bavli holds you don't even have to, not only do you not have to give up your life to save a life, you don't even have to put yourself in safek sakana to save another person's life. Says Ar Sameach, you know where we learn this out from? We learn this out from this halacha. From this halacha that you remain in the Arei Miklat, despite the fact that you could save all of Klal Yisrael. From there we learn out, not only do you not give up your life to save another life, you don't risk your life to save another life. Why? Because this guy, who supposedly is like Yoav ben Sruya, he's risking his life to leave the Arei Miklat. Because what if the Goyal Hadam will kill him? So we tell the guy, you're not allowed to leave then. But all of Klal Yisrael is at stake! My life comes first. And if I leave, I'm putting my life in jeopardy. But is my life so important that my life, I might not even, the Goyal may not even knock off the guy. So shouldn't he risk his life to save all of Klal Yisrael? No, he shouldn't. Your life takes precedence to the point where not only do you not give up your life to save another life, you don't risk your life to save another life.
How long can someone be a Goyal Hadam?
How long?
Yes, as long as he's alive.
Yeah, as long as you're in this world. Once you go to Olam Haba, you can't be a Goyal Hadam anymore.
So
and until the Kohen Gadol dies.
Is someone who...
Wouldn't cool away Flasmal.
Yeah, what?
I thought a Goyal Hadam is...
Yeah, we're not getting into the specifics of the Goyal Hadam. There's halacha. Goyal Hadam could knock off the Roitzeach b'shogeg. So what the Ar Sameach is saying is that the reason why this individual cannot leave the Arei Miklat is because he cannot endanger his life to save the life of another Jew. Even though it's not even a definite danger, it's only a safek danger. Maybe the Goyal Hadam will say, you know what? For the sake of Klal Yisrael, I'll suspend target practice for a few days. No, since it's a safek, you do not risk your life to save not only the life of another Jew, you don't risk your life to save all of Klal Yisrael. Talacha. That's how the Bavli paskins. And by the way, that's how we paskin that way. We pass that way. You do not put yourself in danger.
Don't have a mitzvah to kill the.
So it's machlokes and makos. Is it rishus? Is it chiyuv? Is it mitzvah? Yeah.
Wouldn't cool away Flasmal.
Yeah. Right.
You remember me? Did you give me a ride once?
Oh yeah. Shkai, right. Very good. Very good. Okay. So what we would like to do is we want to examine this question very briefly. Again, the question at hand is, why is there a halacha that the Roitzeach cannot leave the Arei Miklat, even if it's putting the rest of Klal Yisrael in jeopardy? Okay, so we offered already a few terutzim. The Cheshek Shlomo said it just means la'olam. The Ar Sameach says because you don't risk your life to save the life. Fine. We would like to venture into a new teretz to this question. Okay. I want to bring it to your attention. I want to draw your attention. Number 8, the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos, Parak Daled, Mishnah Beis. Ben Azai Oimer. Ben Azai says, Heve rotz lemitzvah kala kechamara. Run to a small mitzvah like a great mitzvah. Now, we already had this in Avos and Parak Beis. Now, Ben Azai is adding a nakuda. Ubayreach mino avera. Run away from a small avera. Shem mitzvah goyreres mitzvah. One mitzvah schleps along another mitzvah. Ba'avera goyreras avera. One avera drags another avera. So that's the first point. Ben Azai is offering a new reason why you should run to do even the smallest mitzvah, because you think it's a small mitzvah, but you don't even know what kind of opportunities it's going to bring your way. One mitzvah schleps another mitzvah. And then Ben Azai brings another point. Sheschar mitzvah, mitzvah. The reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah. Uschar avera, avera. And the reward for an avera is avera. And again, that also needs explanation. What do you mean the reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah? That's the whole reward? I was expecting something better than that. The reward for a mitzvah is a mitzvah. By the way, this is the Maimer of Ben Azai, mitzvah gereres mitzvah. And it's also found in the Medrash, Dvarim Rabbah. And the source is, guess what? This week's Parsha. The source for mitzvah gereres mitzvah is this week's Parsha. Because in this week's Parsha you have a seemingly very strange strand of mitzvahs and averos and inyanim listed in the parsha. Almost, it seems like they have nothing to do with each other. We have the inyan of the Eisha Sifas Tayar, and then you have the wife who you don't like, and then you have the Ben Saru Moira. And then the parsha continues with the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKain, and putting a fence around your new house, and then not planting Klayim, and then not plowing b'shar v'chamar yachtav, and then tzitzis. I mean, it seems like a whole laundry list of unconnected mitzvahs. Comes Ben Azai. Says Ben Azai, mitzvah goyreres mitzvah. How's that? So says Ben Azai, let me explain something to you. The first thing the person does, he's going to war, and his passions are flaring, and his adrenaline is pumping, and he sees a Yefas Torah, he sees a beautiful woman, and the Torah says, look, you want to take her? That's your first problem. You do that Avera, you're going to eventually hate her. And then eventually you're going to have Ben Sarah Moira. Why? And that Ben Sarah Moira, guess what he's going to do? Ki yeh be'ish chet mishvat maves. He's going to kill someone. Mid Avera, goyreres Avera. Nothing in life is isolated. You can't look at any act in life and say, well, it stands on its own. Nothing in life stands on its own. Everything has far-reaching repercussions. But says Ben Azai, you're walking along the street and you notice a bird's nest, and it's no big deal. You climb up and you're mekayim in the mitzvah of Shiluach HaKain, and you think, oh, big deal, what did I do? You should know you're mekayim that mitzvah. Very soon after that, you'll be zoicha to build a new house, a new bayis. And you build a new house, you're going to make a makkah. A makkah. Or in yeshivish, it's called a maikah. You'll build a maikah around it. And then once you build the makkah, you're going to have a field. And you're not going to plant it klayim. And then you're not going to plow the field. And then you're going to be zoicha to a pair of tzitzis. Mitzvah, goyreres, mitzvah. This is a rule that we were used to from the time that we're little. Mitzvah, goyreres, mitzvah. What does it mean? Why do we say mitzvah, goyreres, mitzvah? I mean, think about this guy. This guy, he's walking down the street, and he happens to notice a bird's nest. He ain't wearing a pair of tzitzis. Why not? He never bought it. You don't, right? Midoraisa, you don't have to go out and buy a pair of tzitzis. Nowadays, by the way, you do have to. It's minhag Yisrael. You got to wear it every day. But back then, he's not wearing a pair of tzitzis. Why not? I don't know. He doesn't have the money. He never thought of it. No, but why didn't he? He didn't have the beged. For whatever reason, he's not being mekayim the mitzvah. So now that he sends away a couple of birds, he's going to get a beged. What does one thing got to do with the other? He wasn't wearing it until now. Why all of a sudden now is he's going to, what does the bird's nest have to do with the fence around his house? What does the fence around his house have to do with his new beged? What is this concept of mitzvah, goyreres, mitzvah? What's the meaning of it? What's the mechanism of it? And by the way, if you look through the Parsha, Rashi in this week's Parsha is replete with the concept of avera, goyreres, avera, mitzvah, goyreres, mitzvah. For example, Rashi, number 10, Rashi says, what's the juxtaposition of Yifas Tayar, Isha Senua, Ben Sairo Moira? Rashi says the union of Avera, Goyreres, Avera. And then Rashi continues on this theme. In number 11, Smichos HaParshias, that if the father and mother have Rachmanis on the kid, he's going to go with Tarbasra, he's going to kill someone. But then Rashi says, if you're Mekayim Shluach HaKain, you'll have a bias, you'll make a Makkah, Mitzvah, Goyreres. So what we'd like to do is try to explain for a few moments the concept of mitzvah garas mitzvah, and then we're going to offer a new understanding of the inyan of mitzvah garas mitzvah. Comes Rabbeinu Yoina. Rabbeinu Yoina in his classic commentary on Pirkei Avos says Rabbeinu Yoina, just like in the physical world, so too in the world of mitzvahs. So for example, you have a guy. The guy, he hasn't exercised in 20 years. He's a little flabby right now. So we tell him, pick up the weight. It weighs 100 pounds. So he goes to pick up the weight. The weight doesn't move. The only thing that gives maybe is the back, but not the weight. Right? So how's the guy going to pick up the weight? You tell him you start with 5 pounds. The next week, 10 pounds. A week later, 20 pounds. And he builds up his muscles. And he gets used to lifting heavier things. The muscles strengthen. Ultimately, he's able to lift up 100 pounds. It's the same thing with a mitzvah. You tell a guy, wake up for Shachris with slichos for the next month. Huh? What time is it? 5 o'clock in the morning. No thanks. You can't do it. He's so used to not getting up early, it's impossible. So you tell the guy, look, we'll start like this. This week, we're going to start with 9 o'clock Shachris. Not so easy for him at first, but he's able to get up. He starts to exercise his ability of doing something he doesn't want to do. And then the next week we say 8:30. And then the next week 8 o'clock. And the next week... And he slowly builds up his muscles of exercising will to do something that it's hard for him to do. That's the inyan of mitzvah garas mitzvah. At first, it's hard for a person to do a mitzvah. You do one mitzvah, you exercise the ability of doing something you maybe prefer not to do. And then once you get used to that idea, you start doing things maybe it's even harder to do, and you slowly build up your muscles. That is the natural process of mitzvah garas mitzvah. Okay, and that is something very understandable. But then comes Rabbeinu Yoina, and Rabbeinu Yoina says Ben Azai is adding another point, and that point is sheschar mitzvah. The reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. What does that mean? Says Rabbeinu Yoina, everybody knows that even though it looks in this world like we do things, we don't do anything. Everything we do, the Ribbon Shalom does. Hakoil bidei Shammai. It looks like we're the one who sticks our hand in our pocket and gives the money and buys the item and brings it home. Ribbon Shalom is doing everything. So you say, but at least we're doing the mitzvahs, right? No, you should know. Even a mitzvah or an avera, we don't do it. The Ribbon Shalom is making us do it. The only thing we could do is the decision, the bechira. So it's a big yesod. Even the mitzvah naver. You think, well, at least I'm the one putting on the tefillin, right? Wrong. You're not even putting on the tefillin. You're not even lifting up the lulav and esrog. Everything it's hakoil bidei shamayim. The only thing you do is you have the inner choice to want to do the mitzvah. Says Rabbeinu Yoina, if the only thing that we do in this world is the desire and the want, and everything else, the Ribbon Shalom is actually the one doing it, then we need a lot of help in this world. Boy, do we need a lot of help. Because if the only thing we're doing is the bechira, if we chose to do something good, then the Ribbon Shalom will say, "Whoa, you want to do the mitzvah? I'll give you the tefillin. I'll give you the lulav and esrog. I'll give you the tzedakah." Then, says Rabbeinu Yoina, once you make the right decision, the Ribbon Shalom will help you make and help you have opportunities for even more mitzvahs. And we'll elaborate that in a little bit. That's the inyan of sheschar mitzvah. Okay, so we're trying to understand what is this mechanism of mitzvah goyreres mitzvah. There's a very interesting sefer called Klalei HaMitzvos, written by Rav Yosef Giktilia. Rav Yosef Giktilia was one of the early Mekubalim, the generation of the Beis Yosef. And Rav Yosef Giktilia is the author of the famed Kabbalistic work Sharei Oira. The Arizal even recommended learning Sharei Oira. And in the introduction to the Sefer Charedim of Rav Elazar Azkiri, he brings down a story about Rav Yosef Giktilia. Rav Yosef Giktilia once had a dream. And in his dream, Malachim were bringing mitzvahs to his scale, and Malachim were bringing Averos, and the mitzvahs were adding up, and the Averos were adding up more and more and more and more. And all of a sudden, they were 50-50. They were exactly 50-50. And he woke up, and he ran to his tefillin, and he put on his tefillin, and he tipped the scales. Says of Yosef Gektelia, you should know a very interesting thing. Mitzvahs in this world are like a chain, are like a ladder. And the way the ladder works is, the moment you put your foot on step 1, the first rung then elevates you to step 2. The body of mitzvahs is like a living entity. It's a living rope ladder. That the moment you step on the bottom rung, the rope starts to rise. That's the inyan, he says, of mitzvah goreres mitzvah. The Chassid Yavitz, of Yosef Yavitz, one of the Gerushe Sfarad, he also writes a very amazing thing about the concept of mitzvah goreres mitzvah.
Historian?
What?
Yavitz historian?
No. Rabbi Yosef.
There was a Yavitz historian.
Maybe referring to Rabbi Yaakov Emden. This is a different Rabbi Yosef Yavitz. He says like this: the mitzvahs are one entity. The Torah is Torah achas. The mitzvahs are one entity. It's like one body. That's why we have 365 negative commandments and 248 positive commandments. Keminyan Evarav Shaladam. Because the mitzvahs comprise one entity. So you think all I'm doing is one little mitzvah. I'm putting up a mezuzah. No. Let's say I have a box. So you say, all I'm doing is I'm lifting up this corner of the box. Yeah, but it's one box. So when you lift up one little corner, the whole box, you're already grabbing onto the entire box because it's one entity. It's the same thing with a mitzvah. Once you perform one mitzvah, you've already embraced Kol HaTorah Kula. Because it's one item, it's one consistency, it's one entity. And once you do one mitzvah, you already have tied yourself to the body of Asiyas Mitzvah. By the way, the Vilna Gaon says one of the most astounding processes of mitzvah goreres mitzvah. And the Gra really addresses one of the big questions I always had. And that is, why do people like to talk? You ever see, you know such people? People like to talk. Why? It's sheer lunacy. Talking? For what? What are you doing? You're not making more money. You're not living longer. You're losing money, right? You spend 10 minutes talking, you could have made money. It doesn't, right? You're not improving, you're not getting any pleasure, you're not getting any physical benefit, you're not getting any ruchnias. It is something which is sheer lunacy, talking. Right? You're not improving your health, there's nothing being gained by talking. What's the draw? What's the attraction to the word? What are you doing? This meshuggah? What, you're just wasting your life. Why do people like to talk? And people, mamish a geschmack conversation. Huh? What's so geschmack about it? I understand somebody likes to eat. It tastes good. For at least the split second that it goes down the esophagus, for that one split second, it tastes good. I understand people want to make money. You could do something with money. What's the thing with talking? Why do people talk? What pleasure is involved in talking? Says the Gra, I'll explain to you. This is the way that mitzvah goreres mitzvah works. Says the Vilna Gaon, when a person does a mitzvah, Hashem sends down a ruach mimarim, a spirit from above, that says that mitzvah was so enjoyable, you will not rest, and you will have no respite, and you will have no satisfaction until you do an even bigger mitzvah. Anytime you do a mitzvah, Hashem sends down like a malach, a ruach mimarim, that does not allow a person any menuchas hanefesh until they do a bigger mitzvah. And when you do that bigger mitzvah for a moment, I feel so much better now. You satisfy that ruach. The only thing is a new ruach comes where you need to do an even bigger one. You ever see a guy, what's the guy learning so much for? What is he, why? He's like unstoppable. What is he, possessed or something? Yeah, he's possessed. The Rebbeinu Shalom sends down a ruach that the person cannot have any menucha until he does an even bigger mitzvah. Now, since Talmud Torah is the biggest mitzvah, it creates the biggest ruach, and it causes the person to desire even more. Sometimes you see a guy, they're so fixated on their mitzvah that it's like, oh, there's like a dipik in them. Yeah, there is. There is. They are possessed. You're looking at me like I'm nuts? This is what the Vilna Gaon says. This is what he says. This is Tairas Emes. That when a person does a mitzvah, ba ruach mimakoim kadosh ma'oid umisavem ma'oid lemitzvah v'nene ma'oid machvazeh me'a mitzvahs v'yadua shemitzvah hagadoyla mikol ha-mitzvahs hulimud ha-Torah. So if you learn, the Rebbe will give you a desire. You know what? I want to learn even more. And you will not have menucha until you tackle learning. But says the Gaon, if learning is the biggest mitzvah, then what's the biggest avera? Wasting your time. Bittul Torah. And how does a person waste time? By talking. That's all. Bishlam, if you're sleeping, I understand why somebody would want to sleep. You want to sleep 10 hours? I can understand that. It's Geshma. You want to eat? That it makes sense. What are you talking? You're tired, right? You ask the guy, aren't you tired? Yeah, but I just have to get this off my chest. What are you talking about? Says the Gaon, if learning Torah is the biggest mitzvah, the biggest avera is dvarim b'telem. It's just talking. And when a person wastes time talking, the Rebbe Shalom sends down from Shamayim a ruach that they just have to talk even more. And you say, why is this person talking so much? Are they possessed? And the answer is, yes. They are possessed by a ruach mimarim, that they have no respite until they talk more. Until they become like this veritable treasure trove of dvarim b'telem. You ever see some people, they're mamash, mayon ha-miskaber. Every unimportant thing they are able to unleash. Where does it come from? It's a what a talent. The answer is, it's mamash min hashamayim. It's a supernatural talent. The more you learn, the more you want to learn, the more you need to learn, the more you will learn, the more you'll need to learn. The more you talk, the more you want to talk, the more you'll need to talk, the more you will talk. Just pick your mitzvah, goyreres mitzvah. It's a frightening thing. It's a frightening thing. But I would like to bring to your attention a new dimension of mitzvah, goyreres mitzvah. Again, so far we had Rabbeinu Yoina. It's like exercise. You need to practice getting used to doing something maybe against your will, against your nature. You have the idea of schar mitzvah, that all we could do in this world is the free choice, and we need the assistance from heaven. We have the idea of Rabbi Yosef Giktilia, that mitzvahs are like the rungs of a ladder that move you up and up. And we have the idea of the Chassid Yavitz, that mitzvahs are one entity. Once you do one, you grab onto all the mitzvahs. We have the idea of the Gaon, that once you do something, a ruach comes mimarim, and you're not at ease until you satisfy the new ruach. But I would like to bring to your attention what I think is the most basic and the most important dimension of mitzvah goyreres mitzvah. Another pasuk in this week's Parsha. Kisivne bayis chadash. You'll build a new house. Number 19. V'yasisa ma'akeh legagecha. You should make a fence for your roof. V'lo yisasim damim deveisecha. Don't spill any blood in your house. Ki yipol hanoifel mimenu. Because the one who fell will fall. That's literally what it means. Ki yipol hanoifel mimenu. The one who fell already will fall. It's just one simple question. What do you mean? If he fell already, what does it mean he will fall? Why are we calling the guy who will fall the noifel? The guy who fell. He didn't fall yet. It should say, ki yipol, he will fall. What's ki yipol hanoifel? What's hanoifel? Why do we call him hanoifel, the guy who fell? Says Rashi, let me explain something to you. If you build a house, and you have a roof, and a guy falls off your roof, the one thing you should know is you didn't kill him. He was destined to fall off anyway. It was Gzeira min hashamayim. You should know even more than that. It wasn't even Rosh Hashanah. From the 6 days of creation, God decreed that this guy would fall off the roof. He's hanoifel. He fell 5,775 years ago, this guy fell. He is already gefallen. So what do you want from my life? Why do I have to put up the fence? If either way he's going to fall. Says Rashi, Ki yipal hanoifel, ro'i zeh lipal. He was worthy to fall. V'afal pike, nevertheless, you know why you need to put up the fence? Because we don't want the death to come about as a result of you. Because the Rebbeinu Shem orchestrates zechuyos through a meritorious person, the chayva and fault ayidei chayav through a faulty person. That means like this.
Destined to fall.
This guy who fell off the roof
Destined.
when Hashem created the world and he said Yehi, he said Pliny ben Pliny is going to fall off the roof. So really, am I at fault for being negligent and not putting a fence about my roof? He would have fallen anyway. But the way the Rebbeinu Shem works is like this. This guy was supposed to fall. But the Rebbeinu Shem says, I know he's supposed to fall, but who's going to do it? Who's going to be my vehicle? Who's going to be my agent? Who's going to be my shliach to take care of him? The Rebbeinu Shem's looking around. Well, I'm looking for a few good men or one good guy. Says Rebbeinu Shem, not him. I'm not going to have him be the responsible party. He's a zakai. He's an innocent guy. He's a meritorious guy. I liked how he davened today, so I'm not going to use him as the vehicle to bring about this person's death. This guy, he did a nice chesed today. I'm not going to use that guy as the vehicle to bring about a person's death. But this guy, he's not such a good guy. He's a selfish guy. He's negligent. He doesn't care about other people. He didn't put a fence around his roof. Oh, he's my man. Says Hashem, Hineni muchan umuzuman. I hereby appoint this guy to be my agent, to be the vehicle through which this person is going to be killed. So did this person kill him? No. He was going to die anyway. But the Rebbeinu Shem selected Pliny to be the vehicle through which he's going to carry out this misa. Why? Megalgalin chayva ayidei chayav. The Rebbeinu Shem has many things that he wants to bring about in this world. Some of them are not good, and nobody should know of such things. And the Rebbeinu Shem has many, many mitzvahs that he also wants to take place in this world. And the Rebbeinu Shem says, all I need is the right shliach. A good shliach, I will use that shliach to be my agent, to be able to accomplish great things. And if somebody is not a zoiche, if someone is not a zakai, if someone is a chayev, the Rebbeinu Shem says, he's this type of guy that I would like to employ and utilize to bring about chiyuv in this world. So the Rebbeinu Shem is saying, look, this guy was destined to die misheshis me bereshis. All I need is the right agent. Oh, we have him. Here we have him. Here's the selfish guy who built a house and doesn't care about anybody and is negligent. He's my kind of guy to bring about chiyuv. And on the other side, on the flip side, the Rebbeinu Shem has major mitzvahs that he would like to be accomplished by Olam Hazeh. Says the Rebbeinu Shem, look, it was already destined to happen. All I need is the right vehicle, the right shliach, the right agent. You know, as we approach Yom Naram and we think in our minds, what are we trying to accomplish in the Yom Naram? If I were to tell you, if you say all the slichos and you daven properly and you do a little tshuva and you clap the achetz, if I were to tell you that at the end of the Yom Naram you would have a clean slate, sound like a good deal? I think we would all say it sounds pretty good. But what we're learning today is that's only half the game. Why? What could be better than that? Clean slate, all averos wiped, scot-free? Well, we have to understand that if you were best friends with somebody and you had a good relationship with somebody and they insulted you and you weren't talking to them and then you made up, okay, so now we're friends then. And maybe you invite each other to each other's simchas, but you used to go out together a few times a week and used to enjoy each other's company. And now, yeah, you forgave each other, but you don't have the same closeness, you don't have the same relationship, you don't have the same friendship. The desire, the want is not there anymore. We daven Yom Naram, Al tashlicheni milfanecha. Please do not throw me away from before you. What's that supposed to mean? We say to Rebbeinu Shem, do not throw me away. where is Rebbe Shem going to throw us? What kind of tefillah, right? And everybody's crying. Al tashlicheni. Yeah, what are you saying? You know what you said? Do you have any idea what you're talking about? Don't throw me away. Whether Rebbe Shem has a special garbage can that we don't want him to throw us into. What does it mean, Al tashlicheni mafanecha? Not in Staten Island. What does it mean, Al tashlicheni mafanecha? Says Rabbeinu Yoina that when a person does tshuva, erasing avera, this is in number 24, erasing an avera, erasing chataim, is only a small part of the game. Because if after the Rebbe Shem has forgiven us, the Rebbe Shem says, you know, I have so many mitzvahs that could be accomplished in this world. I forgive you for all of your sin. But from now on, you're not the kind of person that I would like to use as a shliach to do mitzvahs for me. Because bottom line, to be Mekayim a mitzvah in this world, the Rebbeinu Shem has to select you to be his shliach to bring about a mitzvah. You need to be eligible to do a mitzvah. You think everyone could do a mitzvah? Person says, yeah, all I need to do is I need to want to do a mitzvah. Not true. Person could want to do mitzvahs from today, bias goyel tzedek, they may not ever do any mitzvahs. Many mitzvahs require the correct set of circumstances. I want to put on tefillin. You have to have the tefillin. You have to have the arm. You have to have the guf naki. Yeah, I want to learn. You have to have the clarity of mind. You have to have the free time. You have to have the menuchas hanefesh. Everybody wants to do mitzvahs. But in order to do a mitzvah lemaisa, you need to have a zechus. To do a mitzvah, you need to be a zakai. You should know, anytime you do a mitzvah, you're not the one doing it anyway. It's the Rebbeinu Shalom is doing it because for whatever reason he had rachmanas on you, and he said, you know what? I would like this mitzvah to be carried out by so-and-so. In order to do a mitzvah, you need to be zoicha to do the mitzvah. You need to be a zakai. The Rebbeinu Shalom has so many zechusim and merits and tremendous things to be done by Olam Hazeh. And the only thing we need to do is we need to make ourselves eligible and worthy to be the one to carry out these zechusim. One of the very important ideas of mitzvah, goyreres mitzvah, I'll tell you the most important idea. You know how mitzvah, goyreres mitzvah works? The guy who's walking down the street, he's not wearing tzitzis. You know why? Because the Rebbeinu Shalom said, you know what? I have not deemed this person a zakai enough to wear tzitzis. That's all. I didn't give him the money. I didn't give him the good idea. I didn't give him the thought. The Rebbeinu Shalom in his book said, you know what? This person is not yet the meritorious person to which I would like to give the mitzvah of tzitzis. But once he's Mekayim Shiluach HaKain, the Rebbeinu Shalom says, hey, you know what we have over here? We got ourselves a zakai. We have ourselves a worthy individual. He's the kind of guy that I'm going to give the $12 to buy the mitzvah of tzitzis. To wear tzitzis, you need to be zoiche to wear tzitzis. To learn Torah, you need to be zoiche to learn Torah. To do any mitzvah, you had to do something good beforehand to be zoiche to do that mitzvah. And that's a fundamental principle. You think, yeah, I'm here because I'm here. I chose to be here. No. You were zoiche to be here. Maybe your grandmother was mispalo very well for you that you should be zoiche to be here. You wore tefillin not because you decided. You wore tefillin because the Rebbeinu Shalom deemed you a zakai and you're worthy to put on tefillin today. Sometimes a person might forget to do a mitzvah. Why? Maybe that day they weren't zeicha to do the mitzvah. They weren't zeicha. Sometimes you see somebody, wow, it's amazing. How does he have the opportunity to be mekayim so many mitzvahs? He's really lucky. He's not lucky. Rebbeinu Shalom deemed him a zakai. He did something to render himself a zakai. That the Rebbeinu Shalom said, okay, we'll make him a shliach to do another good thing. This is one of the ideas of mitzvah, goyreres mitzvah. And when we're mispalo to the Rebbeinu Shalom during the Aser Simei Tshuva, It's not just slach lanu avinu kichatanu. It's not just kaper lanu. We say, Rebbeinu Shalom, okay, I have a clean slate. I want to be, in your eyes, someone who is a zakai, that when you have a mitzvah to be accomplished in Olam Hazeh, I want to be eligible to be your shliach. I want to be the type of person that when you want to bring about a mitzvah, you bring it about. I want to have the zchus to do it. It's not enough slicha. It's not enough kapara. It's not enough not being punished. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, look at number 24. V'oid yispalel bal hatshuva el Hashem. The Baal Tshuva should pray to Hashem. Limchais ka'av pishav, to wipe clean his averos. V'cha'anan chatoisav. But more than that, v'sheyach boitzboi. We want the Ribbonu Shalom to want us. V'yirtzehu, and to find favor with us. V'yeyaser lai, and he should be entreated by us, as if we never sinned. Says Rabbeinu Yonah, it's possible for a person to be spared any punishment, but mincha lo yirtza miyadai. So the Ribbonu Shalom in Shamayim, you know what he's saying? He's saying, I want shachris, I want mincha, I want mariv with kavana. Who am I going to select this year to be zoicha, to daven properly? I don't know if I want this guy shachris and mincha v'kavana. You know what? Maybe should I give him the menuchas hanefesh to daven properly? Do I really want his mincha? Maybe I'd rather have someone else's mincha. The Ribbon Shalom has mitzvahs to accomplish. The question is if we render ourselves eligible to be the one to be zoicha to that mitzvah. And that is, says Rabbeinu Yonah, he says, V'tavas hatzadikim min hahatzlachos. For the tzaddik, the greatest success in this world is lahafek ratzain me Hashem, is to gain the favor of Hashem. The greatest success in this world is that the Ribbon Shalom should want me. He should want me so badly that I should be the one to be zoicha to do mitzvahs. I'm going to tell you over an Aruch HaShulchan, one of the most astounding Aruch HaShulchans I ever saw. Says the Aruch HaShulchan, here you have this guy, he's sitting in the Ari Miklat, and he is one smart general. He's better, more proficient than Rommel, right? And he could take down any enemy. And he's primed, he's waiting to defend Klal Yisrael. You say, sorry pal, stay where you are. But he says the Jewish people are in peril. I should stay in the Ari Miklat because the Torah says Shama, but v'chai bohem. I want to protect the Jewish people. Says the Aruch HaShulchan. Protect the Jewish people? You think anyone could just protect the Jewish people? That's a big mitzvah. You have to have a zechus to do that mitzvah. Who would the Ribbon Shalom give the merit to do such a big mitzvah as to protect the Jewish people? Somebody who must be a very big zakai. Someone who must have so much merit that he has elevated himself to make himself eligible to be the vehicle with which the Ribbon Shalom will accomplish a great thing. We say to this guy, pal, look what the Ribbon Shalom just used you for. He just used you to kill somebody. He said, but it wasn't my fault. I did it b'shoigeg. We say to him, even if you would have killed b'mezid, you didn't do it. It's all the Ribbon Shalom anyway. You're just the vehicle. Listen to this. It's Mamash Apella. If you were the vehicle with which Ribbon Shalom brought about so much bad to kill a Jewish soul, there is no chance in a million years Ribbon Shalom would ever use you to do such a big mitzvah as to save the Jewish people. Chances are, if you leave here, you will not be successful in protecting the Jewish people. What do you mean? But I am the most proficient, most clever general in the world. You say, get out of here. You would never be the vehicle with which Ribbon Shalom should bring about such a big mitzvah. Someone like you, who has already been used, who has already demonstrated, you're a chayav, and the Ribbon Shalom was megalgalin, chayva, al yadcha. There is no way the Ribbon Shalom would ever be megalgal, zechus al yadcha. Such a pella, it's an unbelievable thing. Who could ever even use such an idea, lahalacha? We're explaining lahalacha, that this guy was well known to be the one who's able to be a general, to protect the Jewish people. But we say, look, pal, you want to be Mekayim such a big mitzvah, you need zechusim. Apparently, you don't have the requisite zechusim. You don't seem like the type of person the Rebbe Shalom would like to use to accomplish mitzvahs. Says Rav Daniel Movshevitz, Rosh Yeshiva of Kelm, of all the tefillos that we daven Yom Noram, one of the most important tefillos is Avinu Malkeinu, Zachrenu L'Zchuyos, Kasvenu B'Sefer Hazchuyos. Say, Ribbon Shalom, I know you're Kasvenu B'Sefer Slicha Mechila. I know you forgive me. I know you wipe my slate clean. But I want more than that. I'm not satisfied. I would like to be reached the Madrega where you consider me a Zakai, that whenever there's a mitzvah to be done, I should have the zchus to do that mitzvah. This is the idea of mitzvah goyreres mitzvah. Why mitzvah goyreres mitzvah? Because when you do a mitzvah, you become a zakai. Then when the Rebbe Shalom wants another mitzvah to be done, the Rebbe Shalom says, oh, here's my man, here's the guy, here's the zakai that I would like to be magagel al yadcha. And this is the tefillah Rebbe Shalom al tashlicheni milfanecha. Even if you forgive me, but we want more than that. We don't want you to cast us away. We want to be in your eyes, the Zakai. Like David HaMelech says in Tehillim in Parak Nun Aleph. Parak Nun Aleph is the parak of Tehillim. That after David HaMelech is Mispalel, Herev, Kabseini, Me'avoini, wash me clean from my Averos. David HaMelech says, but I want more than that. That's what he says in Nun Aleph, Pasuk Dalet. But then David moves on in Pasuk Yud Gimel. He says, Al tashlicheni milfanecha. Don't throw me away. And David HaMelech says, Hashiva li sisoin yeshecha. When you look at me, Rebbe Shalom, I want you to see a zakai. I want you to see someone who is considered eligible in your eyes to carry out mitzvahs, ma'asim tovim, zechuyos. We should all be zoicha to be written. The Sefer has zechuyos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.